Welcome to the basement.
This is the UFC Hall of Famer Ken Shamrock, and you're listening to the Basement Boys Podcast. Enjoy. God bless. Happy holidays.
All right, thank you, Ken. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Basement Boys Podcast. Chris Gray, Eric Mincer. We got a bunch of cool stuff for you this week. A little fantasy football insight. But let's just jump off into breaking down how the league looks right now itself. Or
Pause. I gotta say, hey, what's up, hello, to all of those who doubted my dedication to Fetty Wap. You got 17-38 in the basement for the Basement Boys. Fetty Wap appreciation is here to stay.
Am I on pause now?
Yeah, I'm sorry, play.
Okay, we good. So let's jump into it. We'll go in chronological order this week. Kind of just makes our life a little easier, even though we normally
Talking about
don't
week
do
15,
that.
Week 15 NFL action.
Bang, bang. All right, so game tonight. We're recording this on Thursday. Probably going to be coming out on Thursday, too. We'll see how that works out. So, Chargers-Raiders. How you feel about it, Eric?
The real question here is how many times do they say San Diego and Oakland? Because you got San Diego versus Oakland in Las Vegas.
I know. It's getting to the point where it's like getting difficult because so many teams are switching their places right now. I know it's only 3, but
do you give them a pass? Like Oakland, it's the first year in Vegas, I'll give them a pass. Do you give a pass for San Diego?
I'm getting pretty used to saying LA now. And I'm really used to, like, the Rams, I don't even think of St. Louis anymore, but, sorry, St. Louis. Love you guys.
Just completely scraped St. Louis just out.
But yeah, so I'm getting pretty used to it now. I'm pretty used to it on all. Oakland, I'm getting there, but it's what it is.
So to answer your question about tonight's game, I like the Chargers plus 3.5. My reasoning is Herbert is really good. Had a really bad week last week. Actually, not even a really bad week, just a down week. I think he'll bounce back because the Raiders' defense is really banged up. A lot of injuries. I'm talking multiple linemen, multiple cornerbacks. As of now, it looks like they're going to be down 6 starters tonight.
Wow. Yeah, that is rough on an already hurting defense that can't seem to get it together to begin with. And it's the perfect opportunity for a get-right game for Herbert. And boy, do they need it. But yeah, I honestly 100% agree with you there. The Raiders almost lost to the Jets, first of all. Can't do that. Can't be doing that. Got smacked around last week. I think it's the perfect opportunity for the Chargers to put together a good game, take over, and just make Derek Carr angry on the sideline again, which is still the scariest video that's come out of this year.
That's going to be the one thing about Derek Carr we remember this year outside of the play against the Jets.
Oh, yeah.
The only real concern is Keenan Allen is still questionable. He's still a game-time decision. But I think even if he misses, Mike Williams is also a game-time decision. So I don't know who the receivers are going to be for the Chargers, but I'm looking right now. The Raiders are without starting safety, out. Cornerback, out. Clennon Farrell, great defensive end, out. Like, just going to be putting up a backup defense against Herbert. I like the Chargers plus 3.5.
Yeah, especially at that line. Plus 3.5 is a great line.
I think we'll win the game.
I agree, actually. I might check out a money line play on that, but we'll see how it works out.
Sprinkle some on the money line. Do it. I definitely like them plus 3.5.
Oh yeah, for sure. Moving on. Bills Broncos.
Saturday action.
Some college football is done for 1 week, so we're taking the time slot action. Yeah, Bills Broncos. Not a whole lot to say on this game. Josh Allen and that surge in offense going against Drew Lock. So
Yeah, the Broncos defense, they had AJ Boye get suspended for the season. He's their top cornerback. He's out for PED. Their next best cornerback, Brian Callaway, injured, going to miss the game. I think Josh Allen against the depleted defense. Yeah, Bills Mafia, get your tables ready because you're about to get win number 11.
yeah, right. You know what? Just because I just thought about it because you mentioned Bills Mafia, I didn't have this pre-planned, but I'm gonna do it anyway. Because if it doesn't happen, I get to make fun of my Bills fan friends, and if it does happen, it's great content. I'm gonna go.
My friend, I went to school in Buffalo. All I know is Bills fans, Bills Mafia all over the place. But hey, you guys got your guy. Josh Allen is the dude.
Hold on. So I'm gonna make a pledge right here, right now. Seeing as Josh Allen is becoming that dude, Stephon Diggs is having a monster year. This team is just honestly surging, and I think can compete with anyone. If the Buffalo Bills make it to the Super Bowl, they don't even have to win. They just have to make it. I'm putting myself through a table.
Oh,
How's that,
hell
Bills
yeah.
fans? How's that?
Outside in the snow, are you gonna wear Bills like memorabilia, Bills merchandise clothing?
If I can get it soon enough after it happens.
Oh, we
Um,
could definitely get somebody to send you a Bill shirt.
Oh, yeah.
I'll get right on that. All right, so Bills over the Broncos. Then the second game on Saturday is Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers hosting the Carolina Panthers. Christian McCaffrey is not likely to play in this game. Packers are favored by 8.5. I just think it's, prime time Aaron Rodgers, Saturday, 8 o'clock. He's going to just go nuts.
And he's having one of the best seasons he's ever had this year. He's already at 40 touchdowns. I believe I saw a stat that his passer rating is, if he finishes with this passer rating at the end of the year, it's going to be the highest passer rating ever from a starting quarterback in the NFL.
Wow. Yeah,
And
he's having
whatever those numbers mean or whatever they mean, but it means something.
And we also had our guest, who we'll get to later, talk about Aaron Jones having a great game this week because the Panthers are really bad against the run. So I just think the Packers are going to literally run away with this game.
Yeah, I don't think this one's even close. Like, not even remotely. All right,
Yeah,
moving
so-
on. Moving on a little, well, it's the same time of the day, but just further down our list. Or no. Sorry, this is the first Sunday
Hey,
game. I lied.
moving
So
to Sunday.
moving to Sunday, Texans, Colts. Phillip Rivers and the Colts are going to run away with this one. Texans are kind of
Yeah.
out. They're not really playing for anything. Deshaun Watson, we'll get into him a little bit during the interview that we get to a little later as well. So I'll leave the Deshaun Watson talk for then. But just this Colts defense is outstanding, and the Texans offense is just wildly depleted. And yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you because these two teams played 2 weeks ago in Houston, and the Texans put up a great fight, and at the very end, they fumbled the snap. And that was just such a deflating loss. Last week, Brandon Cooks was out. He's questionable with a neck injury. As we all know, Will Fuller got popped for PEDs. So you have Watson missing his two main targets against a really good Colts defense. On the Colts offensive side, like Phil Rivers has been very quiet but very consistent, averaging like 240 yards his last 5 games. He's been, not excelling like Mahomes, not balling out. He's not, adding any crazy stat lines, but he's carrying the team and they're playing well. They're 9-4. I think it's going to be a very, very clean, crisp, not much of a worry win for the Colts.
I 100% agree with you on there. Moving on to the next game in the 1 o'clock window, Lions-Titans. Derrick Henry is going to steamroll this team, and Ryan Tannehill is just going to pick off whatever scraps Derrick leaves behind.
We just spoke to a Detroit Lions fan who you will hear from, and even he, I think at one point he might have said he thinks Derrick Henry could get 225 yards in this game. I mean, they're 11-point favorites, which does sound like a lot, but last week they covered 31-10 against the Jaguars. So I think it's going to be, like you said, nailed it. Derrick Henry, the king, he's just going to run.
All right, easy enough on that one. Bears Vikings could be interesting.
Yes. So if it seemed like we were going through some of the other games a little quickly, it's because there are some games that we want to spend a little more time talking about. And I do think the Bears Vikings is a slightly more interesting game than any of us expected at this point in time because they're both 6-7, right? So the winner of this 7-7 during the outside looking in, but they can make a run for the playoffs.
Yeah, I really think this game, like, it's irrelevant at this point. I think it's an interesting game because just in this, like, in the idea of like a evenly matched football game, both being 6-7, but I really don't see anyone making it in this year at 9-7. I just think there's too many good teams out there for that, and it would take too big of a fall off.
You're right. You're right. I don't think either of these teams would make any noise if they did make it, but it would be interesting to see. Well, both of these teams have had such up and down seasons. The Vikings started out 0-4. The Bears started out 5-1, and here they are at 6-7. It's something to watch for. I think Kirk Cousins can actually have a decent game because the Bears allow a lot of yards to the slot receiver. So we like talking fantasy on the show. If you have Justin Jefferson.
But he's also going to have Khalil Mack in his face all night, probably.
I think Khalil Mack was going to be impactful, and I think he can limit Cook. I mean, not like limit Cook because he's Dalvin Cook, but I think if I had to pick one way or the other, I think the Vikings will win this game, and I think they'll cover the 3-point spread.
Yeah, I'd probably agree with that.
I mean,
especially because Trubisky might have flashed a little bit, but
read my mind, man. That's exactly what I was going to go with.
But he's not nearly consistent enough. So part of me feels like because he flashed last week, he's gonna go right back down this week. But who knows?
Exactly.
He could put two together.
I don't know. The Vikings defense isn't anything great, so it wouldn't shock me if he has a really good game, Trubisky. But like we said with Trubisky, it wouldn't shock me if he throws 3 interceptions and the Vikings win this game convincingly.
Yeah, I could definitely agree with you there.
All right, so another game that I don't have much to say about. Maybe you do. Is the Baltimore Ravens coming off their great win on Monday night in the infamous Lamar Poop game. Will be hosting the Jacksonville Jaguars. Gardner Minshew's back. 13-point spread in favor of the Ravens. I think the Ravens win this by like 20.
Yeah, I think it's again another get-right game for the Ravens. Just even though they've been actually being off for the past few weeks, it's the Jaguars. And in any normal year, they'd be the worst team in the NFL. But this is not a normal year because the Jets are there. So
That's right. That's right.
With one of the worst teams in all of history. So
I mean, the Ravens, that Monday night game that they just had, the big win over the Browns, incredible game, possible game, probable game of the year. I think they're just going to be riding such a high that the defense is going to pick off Gardner Minshew. He's not that good, to be honest, and Lamar's clearly in a good mood. I mean, the next day, Tuesday morning, he was joking about everybody saying he had to take a poo. In case you don't exactly know what we're talking about, Lamar on Monday night left the game with cramps. There's a video of him running through the tunnel into the locker room where he's got that look.
He looks like he has to shit. I know he came out and said I know he came out and said, "Oh, I just had cramps," which he could have. He could have just been trying to, he could have just been cramping up in like his legs or something, trying to run back so he could get back out earlier, and it just kind of made him look like that. But my guy, it looked like you had to shit.
It was one of those great Twitter moments where everybody was like, when the Taco Bell hits, or like, just everybody just kind of had the same thought. But then Lamar came back out, led them downfield for the game-winning drive. Huge win. I think they're just going to steamroll the Jaguars.
Yeah, that would not even remotely surprise me. What's the line on that?
13.
Yikes.
That's a lot. I mean, the Jags.
I still might take the Ravens on that, but
yeah, the Jags have covered some spread, but I just think the Ravens right now are just coming off that win are just such an emotional high that they're just going to dominate. That game, I could literally see that game being like 27-0.
Yeah, I could definitely see that.
Uh,
Moving on to another game in the 1 o'clock window. Seahawks Washington might be playing Dwayne Haskins. How do we feel, Eric?
well, that's a great little nugget to keep an eye on, because I think if Alex Smith does get the start, our legend, our comeback player of the year, our emotional story of the year, Alex Smith, going against the Seahawks defense, which has been terrible, I think Alex Smith can keep this a close game. Washington as 6-point underdogs, I like them +6.
You like them +6. Would you
I do.
Would you keep that same energy if Haskins plays, or is this completely dependent on whether Alex Smith plays?
Completely dependent on Alex Smith. I don't trust Dwayne Haskins with anything.
Yeah.
I love the way Chase Young's been playing. We saw what happened when the Giants had a lot of pressure on Russell Wilson. The Giants had that huge upset. I think Chase Young, Montez Sweat can get to Wilson and make him. Obviously, he's going to make plays, but I think they can make him uncomfortable enough that they can stay in this game. They beat the Steelers. Nobody thought that would happen. This defense has been like beyond any level of expectation. And hey, Seattle's dealing with injuries with Chris Carson. They might not be 100%. I think if Alex Smith plays, Washington will cover.
You make a solid case.
That's what I'm here for.
Definitely can't say you don't make a solid case. Wow, we like a lot of games in the 1 o'clock window this week. So let's get into Patriots Dolphins. Could be the beginning of the battle for. Oh no. Patriots lost too much. I'm just being stupid and remembering things wrong. Anyway,
no, but
so
they could
still
play
a very
spoiler.
interesting. Still a very interesting game. They could definitely play spoiler. Bill Belichick loves to spoil anyone in the AFC East plans. Big question marks on Cam, and the Dolphins have been getting hot. I'd still probably pick the Dolphins on this one, even though it's a rookie quarterback going against Bill Belichick.
There we go. Here we are. It's finally happened. We disagree. Because I think Bill Belichick going against his former coach, like you said, going against a rookie quarterback, I think the Patriots +1.5 is what I'm seeing. I would take Patriots money line. I think Patriots win that game.
Really?
I think the Dolphins, their strength is in pass defense, and Cam probably not going to pass it all that much. Like Miami last week, think about it. They picked off Mahomes 3 times, which was incredible. Nobody does that. They're not going to have the same opportunities to get the turnovers if Cam doesn't pass the ball as much.
But then they can focus on run defense because they know not only is Cam probably not going to throw the ball that much, when he does, he's not having that much success. He's only really having success on the feet. It makes them a little more limited. It makes the game plan going in. When you can, even if it's not your strong suit, if you can just focus on one area, it leaps and bounds. Like, it helps so much.
Yeah, I mean, it really depends on which Cam we see. You know, he's had some games where he's came out and not looked like MVP Cam, but he's ran the ball well. Then he's had some absolute duds.
Yeah, and I don't see much of a difference this week. Yeah, I'm definitely going Dolphins on this one. The rookie quarterback thing makes me a little nervous, but worst comes to worst, if he's having a really terrible game, Ryan Fitzpatrick's right there. He's battled it out with Belichick before.
That's a great point. That would be interesting to see if they use him as a reliever. I mean, the Patriots absolutely stifled rookie quarterback Justin Herbert, made him look terrible in that 45-0 blowout. Then they had earlier in the season they had Kyler Murray, kept him to 8 fantasy points, which is again something kind of unbelievable. I just think the mental games that Belichick knows how to play. He just knows how to confuse the rookies. You know, it's not nice, but he really just bullies the rookies. He just takes their lunch money.
I agree, but I also think the Dolphins have a much more complete team than the Chargers do. So I think they'll be able to hold them to less points, which works better into his favor.
definitely, but you also got to keep an eye out on, again, injuries. This league's all about injuries because Mike Gesicki, tight end, and then wide receivers Jakeem Grant and Devontae Parker are both questionable for the Dolphins. So if they're missing those three guys, you got not a whole lot of options for Tua, who's going to already be in an uphill battle against Belichick.
I can agree with you there. Moving on.
Definitely a fun game.
True. Another game in the 1:00 window, Buccaneers-Falcons, could have some serious implications in the playoffs. Falcons could play spoiler at this point. I don't see them going anywhere. And will playing Tom Brady bring up some flashbacks for Matty Melted Ice?
I hope for Matty Ice's legacy that he figures it out. Last week he had 3 interceptions, just looked awful. But I got to go with the Bucs here by 6. I think Tampa Bay is just such a they've figured it out. Like last week against the Vikings, they struggled a lot in the first half of the game and then figured it out in the second half. And I think the Falcons defense is just bad, man. Like
Yeah, it's really bad.
They got healthy and they're still bad. You got Godwin, Mike Evans, AB, Gronk. Like there's just too many weapons for Brady to go to. The Falcons aren't gonna be able to stop all of them.
Yeah, no shot. And like I said, every week that goes by is just this core figuring out more how to play with each other. And you know what I mean? And Tom Brady,
and the Bucs.
they should be superheroes, even though they've had some games where they've had a little kryptonite in them this year. But yeah, I don't see the Falcons coming anywhere close to that game.
The Bucs need it to stay in the playoff hunt. I mean, not that
Right.
they're on the outside looking in, but I just think at this point, you want all the wins you can get.
Yeah, you can't be sliding down now.
Definitely not. Should we go into
the one
late-
last 1:00 game? Which is a lot more interesting than I think it would have been. People would have thought it would have been 2 weeks ago. 49ers Cowboys. Cowboys flashed some life last week. And the 49ers have been kind of hit or miss all season. Definitely not nearly as good as you would expect them to be coming off the Super Bowl appearance. I still don't think the Cowboys have enough. But
all right, so the way I see this game is 100% a nostalgia matchup. It's just the Cowboys and the 49ers. They're two of America's teams. Everybody loves the Cowboys. Everybody hates the Cowboys. Everybody loves the 49ers. Everybody hates the 49ers. Like, they're two iconic franchises that this year both suck. I can't say I personally have a lot of interest in this game. It's going to be one of those games that I know happens, but probably not going to put a lot of thought into. I actually agree with you. I think the Cowboys can make some noise, especially with Bosa being out, D Ford being out. The 49ers don't have Deebo Samuel again. He got hurt like literally the first play last week.
yeah.
But like we've been saying all year with these 49ers is like Nick Mullins can come out, have a really bad performance against Washington, but he can also have a really good performance. He's just so inconsistent. I don't know what to make of this game.
This whole team's both of these teams are just so inconsistent that it's one of those games where just like I couldn't even venture to make a pick, because anytime I'm just like, you know what, I'm going to pick the 49ers, I get a couple thoughts into my head. You know what I mean? Andy Dalton looked great last week. Zeke, who we should talk about Zeke, because I saw I'm just giving up on that whole other thought because this is a way better thought. Every year he's been in the league, Zeke's average yards per game has dropped pretty significantly. Do we think he's just been figured out at this point?
Well, not so much this year because like they're missing Tyron Smith and Zach Martin. So the Cowboys' strength has always been their great offensive line, and this year he's playing without it. Obviously, playing without Dak means defenses could really focus on him. But that is something that you got to think about going forward. because he looks like he's gained a little bit of weight. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but he looks like he's not having, his focus as much tuned in as it's been years past. Like, he looks like he's kind of given up. I don't blame him. The team sucks, but if I was getting paid that much, I'd probably focus a little harder.
Yeah. But a lot
From
of
a
times,
fantasy standpoint, he's killing me because I took him in like the first round, obviously top 5 picks, and he's just been horrible.
but see, that's the thing. A lot of times when these guys get paid is when the downturn starts to happen, because like they've made their money. You know what I mean? Like they can just kind of coast now as long as they're playing okay. As long as it's not a super incentive laden deal. As long as they're playing okay and they're not going to get cut. Like they've
Right.
made their money at this point.
Yeah, I agree. I think this year is kind of a wash for the Dallas Cowboys organization. Like recently, Jerry Jones' son, Stephen Jones, came out and said they're going to keep McCarthy for next year. A lot of Cowboy fans are really obnoxious and like, well, he hasn't done anything. He's terrible. Blah. He's gotten so many injuries. It's hard to judge him based off of 2020.
Hey man, the Jets kept Adam Gase. So if Adam Gase can keep a job for 2 years, give McCarthy his second year. He's had
Excellent
some success.
segue. Excellent segue, my man. Nailed that segue. Let's talk Jets.
Oh, it's gonna be
Uh,
a slaughter.
for those of
Absolute
you who-
slaughter.
For those of you who don't remember, a couple weeks ago, I declared that the Jets are so bad, my second team is going to be the Rams. This is going to be very, very emotional for me because the Rams are going to kick the shit out of the Jets.
Oh, it's gonna be terrible.
17-point favorites. Do the Rams cover?
Probably.
I say yes. You have Sean McVay, offensive genius. Last week played a Thursday night game, so he has the extra week, extra rest to prepare for the mental midget that is Adam Gase. I just think it's gonna be bad.
Yeah, this is not gonna be a fun week in the slightest, and let's just get it over with. At
I mean,
this
you have
point.
the top defense in the league versus the worst offense. Nobody's going to block Aaron Donald. Like we mentioned on the interview coming up, is that Jared Goff is absolutely going to destroy this Jets secondary. Goff is going to go nuts, which is, it is what it is. He's got Robert Woods, got Cooper Kupp. I just hope the Jets can put up points, more than 3. That's my mission for the New York Jets. Can you get 2 field goals?
We can hope. We
Maybe-
can hope.
Maybe a field goal safety. But what's good is about the Jets being at 4:00 is that there's only 3 games at 4:00, and the other 2 are really good. So we can ignore the Jets. And you want to talk Philly, Arizona?
Yes. Let's do
All right.
that. It's
You got
this Eagles
Philly-
team. This Eagles team is come alive under Jalen Hurts. I know it's 1 week and that's all it is, but like we were talking about the week last episode, I feel like this team just gave up on Carson Wentz.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
just seeing what happened last week, they beat the Saints.
Yeah, they're coming off a major upset.
So I think Kyler's going to have his handful this week.
I completely agree. You can see Philly came out fired up. They're like, we got a new quarterback. It's a new day. They came out and they beat the Saints, which was partially the Saints might have fallen victim to the trap because we're going to get to the Saints game next. But you have Jalen Hurts facing a Cardinals defense that really isn't great. Last week, the Cardinals defense looked a lot better because they got Daniel Jones to fumble it 3 times. Danny drops is what he does. I think the Cardinals, as good as they are, as great as Kyler and DeAndre Hopkins has proven to be, I still think there's something missing. I can't figure out what it is. Maybe it's the defense is a little banged up. I see the Eagles covering +6. I'm going to make them one of my picks this week. You're going to see the great. I wonder how many times they'll mention that Kyler Murray won the Heisman, graduated, and was replaced by Jalen Hurts at Oklahoma.
Oh, yeah. Again, one of the broadcasting rules, you gotta mention that.
Got to mention it.
You know what I think that little spice that's missing from the Cardinals?
What's that?
I really think they need like a more solid running game. Like Kyler's great at running the ball, but outside of that, they don't have necessarily a world beater.
Kenyon Drake's having a respectable year, but I'm
But
inclined to agree with you.
he's getting older. Like I think they
No,
could use some young blood in the running game.
I definitely agree with you. This would be a very interesting game because like the Eagles are going to play for the pride of Jalen Hurts. I wonder if Doug Peterson might be getting on the hot seat. He might want to just coach the shit out of this game, and the Cardinals need this game to stay alive.
Yeah, but I don't know. I don't think they get it. And plus, D-Hop just got in trouble with the league for breaking COVID protocols. He's still playing, but got a bunch of other things going on right now. And I think a bunch of the players did because D-Hop apparently opened a restaurant, and you're only supposed to.
I thought that was Watson. I thought that was Deshaun Watson.
Maybe I read it wrong. I thought it was D-Hop. I could be wrong.
I don't know. We'll get the research team on it.
Yeah, and by
All
that,
right,
whatever. Anyway, keep it moving.
Game of the week.
Chiefs
Game
Saints.
of the week.
I do not know how this didn't get flexed down to the 8:00 spot, but that's fine by me.
Well, they wanted to give us the Giants Browns on primetime.
And Steelers Bengals. Oh no, that's Monday.
Yeah.
I'm doing bad with times this week, guys. Sorry about that. I'm all over the place today. Anyway, Chiefs Saints.
Do you think this is going to be a preview of the Super Bowl?
No. I think Chiefs are going to get there.
Not buying the Saints?
Not really. I think I don't know how I feel about the Saints. Because I don't know if Drew Brees comes back, everyone's speculating this might be his last year. So I think if they make it, he has a good shot, and Drew Brees is healthy. He's fucking broke like 97 ribs.
It's like every day they report more and more ribs. They're like, yeah, it was 10, it was 11, it was 25. Just digging through his ribs and just finding more damaged ones.
I don't think they'll be able to do it this year with Taysom. I think Taysom has shown me a lot this year, and I think he's going to be the next quarterback for the Saints. I think that's why they signed him early to the money they did, because even though I think his deal was $26 million, something like that.
Something like that. Yeah, they definitely paid him well. So what do you think?
So they paid him well, but they did not pay him quarterback money, and he signed in for at least a little bit. So I think it was a smart play by them. I think that's why they did it, and so they can now put the weapons around Taysom once they get Drew Brees off their books. What
do you think of this debate that's been simmering, let's say, on the NFL Twitter universe of would this be the game you put in Jameis?
No.
I've just heard the arguments that Jameis is the guy who could either throw 300 yards and 3 touchdowns or just get picked off. And, it's obviously a lot less certainty. But the Chiefs have been weak against passers, and Jameis has the experience.
Yeah, but like we've said in previous episodes, the Chiefs' defense have been getting a lot better over the years. Jameis hasn't been getting the first team reps. He hasn't really had much time to play with this team, and on top of all that, the one time you did see him this year did not look great.
I agree with you, and I think more importantly, Sean Payton agrees with you. However, I just wanted to get it out there because that's a debate that came up on Twitter. So question boils down, who do you like in this game? The Chiefs are favored by 3 in New Orleans.
Really?
Yeah.
Might throw some money down on that one too. I'm picking Chiefs all day. They just lost to the Eagles last week. Like, I get it, but like trap games, things happen. Like, probably we're looking forward to the Chiefs, but I don't
See,
know.
I think of the way I see it is like for the Saints to be caught in the trap game just means that they're going to be that much more focused for this game, especially being a home underdog. But you also look at last week and the Chiefs, like Mahomes threw 3 interceptions and they still at one point had a 20-point lead. Like the Chiefs are just head and shoulders better.
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't know. I really cannot see the Chiefs winning by less than a touchdown. There's just in my mind, I don't see it anywhere.
I agree. I completely agree because as good as the Saints defense is and has been playing, you make a mistake, even if it's just one mistake. Mahomes, he's got Hill, he's got Kelsey, he's got Sammy Watkins. Like there's too many options for him to beat you.
I 100% agree. All right, let's just hit these last couple games real quick. Browns Giants. I know you got an opinion on this one, my guy.
Well, I love seeing that Cleveland has a Monday night game followed by a Sunday night game. That's great for them to be on the national TV spotlight.
Yo, fucking TV loves Baker.
Everybody loves Baker now. Baker's been rolling. I mean, coming into the Ravens game, he had gone 5 straight weeks without an interception. He threw an interception, and he battled back. Like, he got the ball with less than 2 minutes. He drove down, gave the Browns the touchdown they needed. I think Baker is finally becoming who the Browns selected number 1.
They finally hit on a number 1 pick.
Well, 2 back-to-back because Myles Garrett's been a man.
I meant a number 1 quarterback pick, but I agree.
Yeah. This game really, like I mentioned a little bit with Alex Smith and the Washington football team, this game's going to come down to Daniel Jones. Because I think if Daniel Jones plays, I think that he gives the Giants the opportunity to stay close. I don't think the Giants are going to win this game. I think the Browns at -5 is a great deal. And if it ends up being Colt McCoy, it's going to be Browns by 1,000,000.
I disagree with you. I think an uninjured Daniel Jones gives them a better shot, but I don't think he gives them a better shot if he's going to play like last week, just completely inhibited by the injury, by getting in his own head because of the injury, from being off timing because of everything. Like, I think Colt McCoy gives them the better shot if we're going to see the Daniel Jones we saw last week.
Wow, we got a Colt McCoy fan here. Chris, are you becoming...
I wouldn't go that far.
You're a Daniel Jones truther.
No, I think Daniel Jones is far and away better than Colt McCoy, but I just think he couldn't move last week. Like, and that's part of the reason you got him is because he's the mobile quarterback. It's built around that. We're not built around Eli anymore.
And now he gets to take his injured hamstring against Myles Garrett, against Olivier Vernon in a revenge game.
I think it's just a terrible idea. And Colt, unless you can completely convince me that Daniel Jones is going to be Daniel Jones this week, play Colt McCoy.
Honestly, I think even if Daniel Jones is Daniel Jones like at his peak, I think the way the Browns have been playing, man, 2 weeks ago they destroyed Tennessee. Last week they had the great Monday night game, and I think they're going to see that Monday night game as like that's going to light their fire. How do you play a game that well, do everything right, and still lose? You also got a lot of revenge narratives in this because obviously NBC is going to mention Odell Beckham every 5 seconds. You just can't get away from the fact that it would be the Odell revenge game, but he's not playing. But the Giants, this just came out this morning, offensive coordinator Jason Garrett tested positive for COVID. So hopefully, thoughts and prayers. Hopefully everything is all right there. But the interim offensive coordinator is none other than Freddie Kitchens.
Freddie motherfucking Kitchens.
Oof.
That also makes me not look good for the Giants this week because I think Freddie Kitchens is trash.
He's absolute trash, and he's going to be so angry to see the Browns. It's the Browns are Kevin Stefanski's got them 9-4. It's when you see your ex dating someone that looks better than you do. Not that that's ever happened to either of us because we're both such good-looking guys. But Freddie Kitchens is going to be dialing up, Colt McCoy, Hail Marys every other play.
Oh, yeah. And I want Baker to relive the Hugh Jackson moment. Just like, here, hold that. Thanks.
Oh, my God. It'll be very fun to see what Baker has in store for the Sunday night against the Giants in New York.
I 100% agree. Finally, Monday night game of the week. Steelers-Bengals. Ben Roethlisberger's gonna load them motherfuckers on a nice sub sandwich and devour that team.
I agree, except it's a 13-point spread in Cincinnati. Just because they're AFC North football back-to-back weeks on Monday night, I think the Bengals can cover the 13. I might be completely crazy, but I think they can cover the 13.
Without Joe Burrow, I don't see it, but I wouldn't put money on it. It's too big of a spread.
It's too big of a spread, but that's one of those games that ESPN probably made right after Joe Burrow was drafted and was like, "Yeah, get Burrow
This is gonna be great.
and Big Ben. Everyone's gonna want to see it," and it's
Old quarterback against new quarterback.
I'm gonna watch because it's football. I'll
Yeah.
always watch NFL football, but that's not gonna be a good game.
All right. Joining us now, fantasy football extraordinaire. Some call him the Detroit Beastie. Some call him Christopher Robin. This week we're calling him our guest, Christopher Robin. How are you?
Thank you so much. What a wonderful intro. I was going to say something corny, like a dad joke, like call me what you want, just don't call me late for dinner. But reading the room, I didn't think that was, going to be that funny. So thanks for having me, guys.
Oh, in this basement, we love the dad jokes. Work them in as much as you can.
Huge dad joke fans around here.
Good. Noted for the rest of the broadcast.
Absolutely.
All right, so let's jump into some fantasy talk. Which is easy in, something a little easier. Who do you think would be your, like, if you had a top 3 to watch this week going in, what would be, who would they be?
Well, I'm going to start tonight with Austin Eckler. The guy, obviously, he missed a large bulk of the season with some sort of groin injury. And in his absence, Tyrod Taylor was switched out. It's now Justin Herbert's team. He's the starting quarterback of that team. And while Austin Eckler was out, Herbert kind of unlocked this offense. I think we can all agree that Herbert has been fantastic, and he's on the fast track to being a superstar in the NFL. And that's only going to benefit Austin Eckler here, because we saw what he did last season, all those receptions, all those yardage with Phil Rivers there. And so now that Herbert is there, I expect Austin Eckler to get back to that, top 5 kind of PPR running back status. And I don't think it's really even up for discussion what Austin Eckler can do in that offense with a guy like Justin Herbert. My second guy would be Aaron Jones in Green Bay. Let me type him in real quick in my notes, my Excel spreadsheet here. So Aaron Jones last week, they played in Detroit, my Lions. They were downtown here. And he was expected in all formats, seasonal formats, DFS formats. Aaron Jones was expected to be, by all means, just a smash, if that's what the kids are saying here. And he didn't do too much. I mean, he had a respectable game, but it was not needed, right? Aaron Rodgers handled the Lions, as most teams do here. And looking at this week, I think Aaron Jones is going to have the week this week that we thought he was going to have last week, if that makes any sense. Green Bay is at home. Carolina welcomes themselves, to Lambeau Field here. And let's be honest, Green Bay just doesn't lose at Lambeau Field in December. I mean, you can, check the notes here. You can look back 30, 40 years, probably even 50 years. Green Bay just does not lose at home in December here. So I firmly believe Aaron Jones is going to have a fantastic game. Somewhere along the lines, if I may, with my personal projections, about 15 or 16 carries, well over 75 yards. So you're looking at about 4.8 yards a pop. AJ has averaged over 5 yards a carry this season. That is absolutely fantastic for a starting running back here. Finds the end zone on the ground, and I wouldn't be shocked if he finds the end zone twice in this one against the Carolina Panthers here. And my second guy, let's just throw a quarterback in, because I did two wide receivers here. So at quarterback, it's a mix between, let's say, Derek Carr tonight, Jared Goff on Sunday here. But I want to see what Ryan Tannehill can do. That's just maybe it's a selfish kind of thing because my Lions go to Tennessee here, and I absolutely expect the Lions to get obliterated by Tennessee. And you could actually throw in a combo of Derrick Henry and Ryan Tannehill, if I may. I know that's an extra guy here. But Ryan Tannehill, I don't think he's going to have to throw the ball a ton in this one, but I do believe what he does throw, I have him for about 20 pass completions in this one because Derrick Henry's going to carry the ball probably 50 times in this one. He's going to rack up 300 yards. It's just all the funny, corny things work in this one. But Tannehill, I look for him to be super efficient in this one. As I said, 20 or so pass completions. And let me type him in too while we're here. Sorry to bring the show to a screeching halt. But yeah, for about 220 yards. But I do firmly believe that Tannehill puts up 2 passing touchdowns, maybe even 3 passing touchdowns in this one on 17 to 20 completions here. So those are my guys I'm looking forward to in week 15 here.
That's awesome because that actually leads me to 2 questions. You kind of almost answered 2 of the questions we got from fans here. One of them related to, you just mentioned Tannehill. A good friend of mine through the Twitter universe, his name is Brett Holt, wrote in for his team. He was asking Brady or Tannehill. Sounds like you're going Tannehill.
Well, not necessarily here. Let me real quick plug in back into my projections here. Although, Tannehill is a very nice play this weekend. Again, he's not going to see a ton of work. I know he said he was going to be efficient here, but I firmly believe I'd rather start Brady in the spot here. Brady is, looking at my rankings here, I have Tom Brady in the top 10, 9th to be specific. Brady for about 290 yards, just on the cusp of 300 passing yards in this one. 2 touchdowns, a carry or 2, nothing crazy. So overall, in all formats here, I have Brady for about 18 to 19 fantasy points here with the upside of obviously well over 20 here. And when it comes to Tannehill, as I've said, I think Tannehill's floor in this one, given the fact that it's the Lions, about 210 passing yards and 2 touchdowns here. So the difference to me between Brady and Tannehill is going to be the competitive nature of the game. I believe that Tom Brady is going to be in more of a, how do you say it, a more competitive game in a way. They're playing Atlanta. I know Atlanta's 32nd overall against opposing quarterbacks, but Atlanta Falcons have the firepower to keep pace with Tom Brady and the Bucs here, whereas in the Lions, Matthew Stafford is absolutely highly doubtful this weekend. So it's going to be the Tennessee Titans get up early and often. It's just going to be a ton of handoffs. Derrick Henry, Jeremy McNichols, and we'll go from there. So of the 2, I would prefer Tom Brady for the reasons I just laid out for you guys.
Awesome. That was a great answer.
Piggybacking off that, just for my own personal selfish reasons, you also mentioned you were looking at Jared Goff this week.
Yes.
So how would you rate Jared Goff over Tom Brady?
Hang on. Before you answer that, I want to piggyback on Chris's question of when you're looking at Jared Goff, or basically anybody going against the Jets at this point, how do you factor in the blowout?
Well, anybody that's anybody, let's say, on social media who's active in the fantasy football community on all platforms, Facebook, Reddit, I think has a big kind of subreddit for fantasy football. And most importantly, Twitter here, you get those questions like, would you start, like, let's say, would you rather start Mitchell Trubisky in a game they're playing Minnesota NFC matchup game, or would you play Jared Goff because he's going against the Jets? And you'll get a large portion of people that would say, well, I'd rather have Mitchell Trubisky because the Rams are going to blow out the Jets. And it doesn't matter, player A or player B. Well, how does the Rams blowout happen? It would like to say that it would be a lot of Jared Goff passing yards, passing touchdowns. They have to get to the point where it's a blowout in the first place. So I don't care if the Rams get up 30 points in the first half here, and then the second half is a blowout. How did they get those 30 points to begin with? So blowout or not, said player has to lead his team to the points to be considered a blowout here. So for that factor, I would prefer, Jared Goff over a lot of other quarterbacks this week playing the Jets. if that makes any sense, my roundabout way of trying to give my advice in terms of when people, well, it's going to be a blowout, I'm going to pass on that guy. Well,
No,
how do you think it gets to be a blowout?
Makes great sense to me.
And then let's talk about Jared Goff real quick. I could talk about golf all day. I'm a huge Jared Goff fan. I've caught some heat about that over the last few years, and I'm sticking to it. Jared Goff is, on a personal note, I play in a big 14-team PPR IDP dynasty, super competitive. Wow. I'm playing in the semifinals this, starting today. Week 15 kicks off today. Had a bye week. And Jared Goff has been my quarterback all season. I've ridden him through the good times and the bad here. And there's been really low lows, but there's been very high highs, and he's somewhere in the middle there. And so Jared Goff playing the Jets this weekend, I have him for about 25 completions. The emergence of rookie running back Cam Akers has absolutely helped him a lot. And the same could be said for guys like Malcolm Brown or Darrell Henderson Jr. to start the season. But when you have one solid running back, like a stud kind of workhorse guy, as we think Cam Akers is going to be, that opens up the playbook a whole heck of a lot for a guy like Jared Goff. Goff has a massive arm. He's got the offensive weapons at his disposal, right? I mean, let's be honest here. Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, and he's got an assortment of tight ends in Tyler Higbee and Gerald Everett here. So looking at this week specifically, I think his floor is about 250 passing yards and 2 touchdowns. Now, again, I repeat, that's his floor. I fully expect him to eclipse 275 yards, maybe even 3 touchdowns in this one. Is it a little bit of an ambitious kind of projection for me? Absolutely, but that's the whole point of what we're doing here. It's meant to be fun. It's meant to be informative, and I have major stock in Jared Goff, so why wouldn't I project them higher than most, right?
Yeah, of course. You sound like Jared Goff's biggest fan outside of his family.
Absolutely.
And a common theme we have on this show is, because you just brought it up yourself, that you've been catching flack for being on the Jared Goff train for the past few years.
Yeah.
For some reason, we've been saying this for weeks now. Tom Brady and Belichick, when that was together, they were really the quarterback killers. Between Jared Goff and Matt Ryan, it took one game, the Super Bowl for each of them, to just completely ruin their stock.
Absolutely.
But
I think that's more. No, I'm with you 100%. I couldn't agree more with you, Chris. And it's more so a testament to Bill Belichick and his genius of coaching. I mean, it's no secret that Bill Belichick will take your best player or several of your best players, and he'll spend a week to 10 days leading up to the game, and he'll bury anybody and everybody on the opposite team that is worth a damn to you, right? So it's more of a testament to Bill Belichick here, and Tom Brady was just one of his, soldiers in this one. I mean, I firmly believe, this is a slippery slope here, but I firmly believe Tom Brady is the best quarterback to ever play football. So I don't want to say that Tom Brady is just a stooge of Bill Belichick here, but the two of them working in tandem over the years, look what it's yielded. Numerous Super Bowls, numerous AFC championship games. So that fact cannot be discounted, Chris.
Hang on, Beastie, before we jump off the Rams, because our third co-host, his name is Devin, excellent human being. Unfortunately, well, it's not unfortunate. He's got something going on. He's not with us right now on the show, but he
all great things.
It's good stuff. It's a positive reason for not being here. But he wanted to ask, as a fantasy owner in the playoffs, should he trust Cam Akers going forward, or do you think it's going to be more of a running back by committee?
No, my question here is, at this point in the season, obviously it's week 15. If you're still playing fantasy football, that means your team is pretty good, or you're in an important position right now. It's most weeks it's either the first round or you're in the semifinals. You win this round, you go on to the championship game here. And I'm not there's no way I can get behind sitting Cam Akers. Within reason here. But to answer your friend's question, Cam Akers is a full start for me week in and week out now. To be fair here, I think that Coach Sean McVay is an offensive genius in his own right. We've seen it. Got to the Super Bowl, I believe. Was it his first year as a head coach or second year as a head coach? It was fairly early on in his head coaching career here. But Cam Akers, the last 2 weeks, he's gotten a crazy amount of touches in this offense, carries, as they say, right? And there's no way for me to discount the work that he's getting here. There's no reason for us as fantasy owners to believe that it's not going to continue. And my original point here is I think Coach Sean McVay played the long con with us. He didn't use Akers. Remember that back in weeks like 8 to 9 or 8 to 10, Cam Akers wasn't even on the field for one play. There was a stretch of 3 games where Cam Akers got 1 carry. Wow. And look what's happening now. When the Rams and Sean McVay needed him the most, the long con. Hey, we hustled you like a pool game. You shoot a bad couple games and then you come on strong. I think that McVay and the Rams have done the same thing with Cam Akers here. Just suppress him, let him ride the bench. The opposing coaches and teams all along the schedule here think, well, Cam Akers is not going to be a factor here. Boom, in walks Cam Akers, 20-plus carries in back-to-back weeks here. So Cam Akers is a full start for me for the remainder of the playoffs.
It's also like a couple years ago, McVay did this with Gurley, too, where he used Gurley a lot in the middle of the season and then kind of phased him out for Malcolm Brown towards the end of the season. So, yeah. Devin, if you're listening, then absolutely play Cam Akers.
100%.
Start.
With
right.
Full confidence, as they say.
Full confidence. Beastie, on a scale from 1 to 7, how confident?
7.
7.
I don't think I've ever been asked on a scale from 1 to 7. It's usually 1 to 5 or 1 to 10. So
yeah, that was
I'm saying
that was
full
weird
7.
for me too. All right, moving it to the opposite end of the spectrum. Getting a little later in the year, some people like load management is more of a thing in basketball, but is a little bit of a thing in the NFL. Who would you say were your top 3 that were usually week to week must starts that you might want to think about this week?
Well, if you want to go, we can run down. I can give you a top 3 or a top 2 at each position if you want. I have everything here in front of me. So I know it might pain people to say this. It's Deshaun Watson at this point. Houston, they play Indianapolis this weekend. And Deshaun Watson is without a doubt a top 5 quarterback talent in this league. And for fantasy purposes, he's been kind of up and down this season, given the weapons at his disposal. Will Fuller has been suspended. Cooks missed a game or 2 not too long ago with some sort of a head injury or a soft tissue injury here. So when it comes to Deshaun Watson, he can make his hay, running the ball and doing things like that. I think he's going to have a very hard time with the rest of the schedule here starting this week in Indianapolis. Indianapolis is a very, very good defense here, and he's going to have a tough time. Kyler Murray is another one of those guys, I think, that, again, with Deshaun Watson and Kyler Murray, take what I'm saying with a grain of salt. It's kind of all relative, meaning if you have Kyler Murray or Deshaun Watson as your starting quarterback, and you're in the playoffs right now, who do you have as a better option that you would feel comfortable playing over these guys? So Kyler Murray he boomed at the beginning of the season. He was the head of the MVP race for quite some time. And then he had some sort of shoulder injury, something along those lines. And he kind of it tailed off here. He's still a phenomenal talent. Long-term prospects are off the charts here, but he's not the draw with Kyler Murray was his rushing touchdowns. He had 10 rushing touchdowns, if I'm not mistaken, through the first 8 or 9 weeks of the season. He was averaging one rushing touchdown a game. That's what it broke down to. So I would say Kyler Murray, as I said, Deshaun Watson, and a guy lower on the totem pole, probably let me click on my projections and my stats here that I have in front of me. And I would say a guy like, I'm not going to go anywhere near Patrick Mahomes, stud, Russell Wilson, stud. Taysom Hill might want to be a guy that we take a look at as in, do we start him? Do we sit him? But again, I would like to think that you don't have a better option at this point in the season than to start Taysom Hill. But just be mindful of that. And again, just a reminder, it's all relative. I'm not in no way saying bench these guys. That would be crazy. I would be laughed out of the fantasy football business and what I do for fun here. But be mindful of those guys. Real quick, I'll hit on some running backs. I would take a long, hard look at Chris Carson in that offense here. He's one of those guys who was out with numerous leg injuries, knee, soft tissue in his thigh or hamstring right there. And he hasn't really gotten off the ground, meaning he hasn't gotten a full workload since he's been back, to be honest with you too. I think it's just, again, it's part part of what they're doing here. They want to get him, slowly back into that for a full run at the playoffs here. But until that happens, you might want to be mindful of Chris Carson. Like, would I start Jonathan Taylor or James Robinson over Chris Carson this week? Absolutely, yes. And a guy like Mike Davis, that he's the quintessential started hot and hasn't done much since. This was a big topic of conversation in some random Twitter thread yesterday, and there was people they've already made the decision. They would rather play Mike Davis over James Robinson, and there was nothing anybody could say to change that here. And Mike Davis, in the absence of Christian McCaffrey, was fantastic in the first few games of the season. Then he hit a low and he dipped, and he's kind of righted the ship here, scoring twice last weekend, guys. But I think Mike Davis bears a little closer inspection when you're setting your lineups week in and week out for the remainder of the fantasy season. And then I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Josh Jacobs playing tonight for the Vegas Raiders. He rubbed a lot of people the wrong way last week when he put the middle finger up to fantasy owners. I don't care about your fantasy team, end quote, as he said here. Him and Matthew Berry have been beefing since yesterday on Twitter, if you guys noticed that one. So I would pay attention to Josh Jacobs this week and moving forward. You normally could have relied on him to be a workhorse back, and he's just kind of been okay, middle of the road here. But we need Josh Jacobs to be a stud, not middle of the road. And in terms of wide receivers, if I may, keep an eye out for Keenan Allen. He's a PPR monster. He's a stud. And with as we said, Justin Herbert at the beginning of the show here, Keenan Allen is fantastic, but he's questionable this week. Do the Chargers maybe take it easy with him, seeing how they're well out of the playoff picture, and just maybe rest him up in some odd way to plan for next season? If the Chargers can get a good draft or some good free agents here, that team could be dangerous. So I'll be mindful of Keenan Allen for the rest of the season, and more specifically tonight here. And then moving down the list here, Adam Thielen is a guy I think we need to mention. Kirk Cousins, to me personally, couldn't hit the broadside of a barn with a football, and that's saying something for a professional quarterback. There's just something about Kirk Cousins. To be honest, there's no in between. You either love him or you hate him. And in terms of him playing for the rival Minnesota Vikings, as a Lions fan, as I am here, Adam Thielen, I'm not saying that he's been phased out, but his workload has been a little bit not what we've normally seen, and it's because of the absolute emergence of what's going to be a stud wide receiver rookie, Justin Jefferson here. He's getting a ton of work here, and Adam Thielen isn't getting his normal 12 to 15 targets a game, which is off the charts for a wide receiver here. So pay attention to Adam Thielen rest of the season. And then again, what do we do with I'll mention Terry McLaurin real quick. He's without a doubt a top 10 dynasty wide receiver. So I don't want to get too much into that. I'll catch a lot of heat if I talk any further about Terry McLaurin here. But the guy I want to touch on is T.Y. Hilton. He's had some sort of emergence the last few weeks. I don't know what the Colts did with the corpse of T.Y. Hilton, but he's moving around well. He's had back-to-back weeks of some solid production. He scored a touchdown. He's had over 100 yards for the first time since Andrew Luck was his quarterback in 2018, if you can go back that far here. So be careful of T.Y. Hilton. A lot of questions are flying around on Twitter. Do I start T.Y. Hilton over the aforementioned, let's say, Adam Thielen or Jarvis Landry here? And the answer to me is I'm starting anybody and everybody over T.Y. Hilton. I just don't believe it's sustainable here. He had his moment in the sun. He was a great wide receiver. I believe he's another guy on the wrong side of 30 here. And it just I don't think it's going to pan out for us with the expectations that fantasy owners have. So now I'm sure you two can attest to this. Fantasy football on Twitter and Facebook is absolutely toxic. It's what have you done for me lately? T.Y. Hilton has 2 good weeks, and automatically there's certain people that say, oh, he's back in the race for a top 10 dynasty wide receiver. I'm not saying that's true. I'm being a little bit over dramatic here, but that's just the workings of fantasy football on social media here. So temper your expectations with T.Y. Hilton. I would take a long, hard look with him this weekend and moving on this season here, boys.
Absolutely, well said. There's a lot in there. You actually, I don't know if you're like reading the sheet that I have here in front of me, because all of these questions I have, you're kind of touching on them. Somebody asked about Terry McLaurin, who you just mentioned. They said Robbie Anderson, Terry McLaurin, Robert Woods, pick 2. So
Terry, Robbie, and Bobby Trees you mentioned, correct? So
yes.
To me, let's do this the right way. Let me punch them in my projection model here, and I'll give you their projections for this week specifically, and we can do it that way. Just take a moment here. So
Yeah.
Robert Woods, I have for about 6 or 7 receptions, which is nice, about 70 yards. So you're looking at about 16 to 17. This is full PPR points, by the way. So about 16 fantasy points for Bobby Trees, as they call him. Terry McLaurin, about 6 receptions, 80 to 90 yards here. I have Terry finding the end zone this week. So his floor for Terry is about 15 or 16 fantasy points plus the touchdown here. So of the two so far, Terry is in the lead here. And then let's look at Robbie Anderson real quick, if I may. So I have Robbie for that's almost the identical kind of projections here. About 6 receptions, 70 yards. So you're looking at about 15 fantasy points for Robbie Anderson. So to me personally, I'm going to go Terry McLaurin and Robert Woods to answer that question.
That was a very thorough answer, as the 3 receivers seem to be lining up to do, within the same realm of projections. Another question, again, you touched on it. It involved T.Y. Hilton. Someone was asking Mike Evans, A.J. Brown, T.Y. Hilton.
Well, T.Y. Hilton I have in front of me for about 4 receptions, about 50 or 60 yards here. Guy averages recently about 13 yards a reception here. So I have T.Y. just a little bit over 12 PPR points here. And then A.J. Brown is going to be, how can you not start A.J. Brown, especially this week against the Lions? I have him for a very solid 4 or 5 receptions, well over 70 yards. He'll find the end zone in the manliest way possible, mowing down Detroit defenders here. So about 16 or 17 fantasy points. So of the 2 so far, I have A.J. Brown. And who was the third player? Oh, Chris Godwin, correct?
Oh, it was Mike Evans.
Mike Evans here. So,
but again, you're reading my sheet because the next question involved Chris Godwin.
Oh,
I don't know how you're doing this.
To be honest with you, I read your sheet about 20 minutes before 11 o'clock here, and I didn't think I retained information like this. I certainly am no good with remembering phone numbers and names, but when it comes to fantasy football, I don't know, something kicks in, and it's like I'm photogenic memory or whatever they call it. So Mike Evans, I have for about 5 receptions, 60 or so yards. I have him finding the end zone here, so you're looking at about 15 or 16 fantasy points here. So to me, it's Mike Evans and A.J. Brown of the 3 wide receivers, guys.
And then the last question, again, you nailed it, Godwin or Kareem Hunt?
Godwin or Kareem Hunt? That's an interesting question. I love these kind of questions because you have on positional rankings, you have one as a wide receiver, one is a running back here. So you have to kind of, it's not just as easy as saying, well, I have him for this many catches and this many yards. There's a few other intangibles that go into that. So with Godwin, it's a bummer what he's turned into this season. I think things will change next season, but that's for a different day, a different conversation here. Chris Godwin, I have for about 5 receptions, about 65 to 70 yards. He averages about 11 and a half to 12 yards a reception here. So I have him for about 14 and a half fantasy points here. And then if you look at Hunt, I don't see a way that we can get away from Kareem Hunt right now, given how Cleveland's offense is hitting on all cylinders right now. I have Kareem Hunt for about 8 carries, about 50 yards, about 3 or 4 receptions for another 25 yards. So the projections have him about 2 or 3 yards shy of what Chris Godwin's projections are. But I'm going, projections are, it's boom, it's right in your face. You can see it, you can touch it, you can do that. But there's intangibles that we have right here, like in our stomach and our chest here. And something is telling me, although the projections are telling me Chris Godwin, my heart and my gut are telling me Kareem Hunt this week.
We're going to call that beastie intuition because that's the human element of it.
That's it.
All right. So I just want to give a quick shout out to Brett, Devin, a few others who wrote in those excellent fantasy questions. BC, those were great answers.
All right.
Thank you.
I have one question for you on a personal level because we are playing in a very, very tight end light league. I have been very, very lucky as I took on Evan Ingram and TJ Hawkinson very early on in the season and held them just to screw over everyone else. But in the last couple weeks, both their quarterbacks went down. How do you rank them in
Yeah, go you for this week. You want to know
Yeah.
about both of them? So with T.J. Hawkinson, I've always said when I'm asked the Lions question here, I for some odd reason I feel the need to say that I always keep out my fandom for the Lions out of my projections, out of my writings, because then if you're labeled a homer, then people really don't respect what you're doing. They think, oh, it doesn't matter. This guy's always going to side with the Lion player here in this one. But how can you get away from T.J. Hawkinson right now? I don't care I do care about Matthew Stafford's health and him as a human being. He's a great man here in Detroit here. But as I've said, locally, all the newspapers are saying Matthew Stafford is highly unlikely to play this weekend. So in walks Chase Daniel to be their starting quarterback, it looks to be. And I don't see a case where that has anything to do with TJ Hawkinson's value being, stuffed down or suppressed here. TJ Hawkinson is a fantastic tight end. He's found himself in the top 3 here this week. And at the end of the season and at the start of next season, he is going to be, without a doubt, a top 5 tight end moving forward. His age, his production, and everything he's done this year here. So when it comes to Evan Ingram, there's just something about the guy. I've never, understood the draw people have in Evan Ingram. Looking at what he's done this year, he's scored 1 touchdown all year, only 50 receptions. He's averaging like 9 or 10 yards a reception here. He's only got 520 or odd yards this season here. So to me, of the two, it's TJ Hawkinson. And personally, Chris, I don't find it really close this weekend.
All right. That was actually a fantastic answer.
I'd like to jump in real quick because I want to take this as a segue to transition a little bit away from fantasy football. You mentioned you are a Lions fan. Unfortunately, heartbreakingly, Chris, Gray, and I are very passionate New York Jets fans.
Oof.
I'm reaching out, man. I need your guidance. I need your help. How do you emotionally handle an 0-16 season?
So when the Lions, I believe we talked about this a few days ago, just in passing, a couple quick messages here. So my Lions, unfortunately, have laid the blueprint for any other team, and it just happens to be the Jets this season who are trending towards 0-16. So at the time the Lions did it, I was fully immersed into writing, and I just discovered DFS. And that was playing on FanDuel or DraftKings, whatever DFS site that you use. And that was a great way to like a release to get out from, the Detroit Lions. I could play, DFS. I could build my own team. I didn't have to be any Lions. And you could win you spend a couple bucks, you win a couple bucks. And it was fantastic. So I would look for you. I would ask you or tell you, most importantly, transition to more DFS here for the rest of the season. Look to play some NHL DFS or look to find the NHL. I mean, if you're a Jets fan, I'm sure you're into the Rangers or the Islanders, who made it to the Eastern Conference Finals last season, if I'm not mistaken. So look for another outlet here. Put the Jets aside. And I know when a professional football team goes 0-16, you can't get away from it. It's all over social media, Twitter, Facebook, wherever you go, right? So look to be okay with it. Don't take anything personal because, as they said, we learned when we were kids, if someone makes fun of you or picks on you, the more you look upset and nervous about it, the more someone will bring it up and put it in your face here. So the more you act upset or pissed off about the Jets being awful, the more people are going to pick on you and bring it up. So act like it doesn't bother you. And the goal is to realistically, in real life, not let it bother you. So look to go another way. DFS, the Islanders, whatever you got to do, and just don't let it bother you and it'll fade away. So
no paper bags?
No paper bags. That's kind of a Bush League kind of move because you wear a paper bag, yet, a lot of the Lions fans over the years have worn paper bags, right? And it's like supposed to be, screw you, Detroit Lions, we don't like you. Yet week in and week out, those same people wearing paper bags spend a couple $100 to go into Ford Field to watch the game. So who's really the fool here, the organization or the person wearing a paper bag and still spending money to watch the organization play, if that makes sense?
That makes sense to me. It's a great point.
All right, piggybacking off of your Detroit Lions fandom, in recent weeks, news has come out that Detroit Lions might be looking to move on from your boy Matt Stafford.
Correct.
And
yes.
And while we have a Detroit fan here, a Detroit guy here, I'm just wondering how Detroit's feeling about it. How you as a Detroit fan, if you think this is what the team needs, or would you rather see him stick around?
Well, personally, it's a great question. I've been asked that question a lot in the last, I'd say, week to 10 days. I've been asked that question a lot. So I've had a chance to really think about it, really collect my thoughts, to give a good, thoughtful, productive kind of answer to you here. And when it comes to Matthew Stafford, there is absolutely no ill will for me. There's no ill will by the city of Detroit or Detroit Lions fans, because come to find out, there are Lions fans all over the place, and even as far as Finland. I know a couple guys out there who have chosen the Lions as their fan, as their fandom here. And Matthew Stafford is a very good man. He's a humble guy. He's a hard worker. He keeps his head down. He does the work. Him and his wife are very good in the community. They do a lot of philanthropic work here in the city. So the city here of Detroit and me personally have nothing but the utmost respect for Matthew Stafford. But to be fair, I do think it's time that the Lions move on from him, and for two reasons here. The Lions would be better if they could move on from him and they could grab another quarterback in the draft, or somehow get a young quarterback in here. And the best way to do that is in the draft. They have kind of a young core here with Swift and TJ. Kenny G is still young here. So if you can get a quarterback to kind of grow and learn with what the Lions have on the offense right now, I think it would be the best situation for the Lions. And then on Matthew Stafford's side, as I said, he's done nothing but work here. And the Lions organization, I feel like they respect him. And if they respect him, that the old saying, if you love someone, let them go kind of thing. I think the Lions would be doing that. That's a favor that they should do for Matthew Stafford after everything he's done for the organization in his 10th or 11th season here. They should get him out of here and let him go elsewhere and let him see what it's like to play for a winning team, have a winning season, maybe make a deep run in the playoffs. Matthew Stafford deserves that. He has the talent, he has the attitude, and he deserves that. So it should be a nice, respectful parting of the ways. That's what I have in my mind. And as you've noticed, the Lions hired Chris Spielman the other day. They brought Barry Sanders on again in a full-time role to be, to bridge the gap in terms of the GM and the head coaching staff here. So they're kind of starting to make some pretty respectable, responsible moves, which the Lions haven't done in years, 10, 15 years, something along those lines. So I think it would be best for the Lions organization to get Matthew Stafford out of him. That's the least that they owe him, is to get him out of here and put him in their best position to win elsewhere.
Oh, man, it must be nice to have an organization that's finally figuring itself out a little bit more. I do have to say that.
I wouldn't say that. I mean, it just happened a week ago. But any little step for the Lions is a step in the right direction when it comes to getting Chris Spielman and Barry Sanders back into a part of your organization. And the number one question I've been asked since they signed Spielman and Sanders is, now is the time to make it right with Kelvin Johnson. They've been at odds kind of over, I believe, a couple $1 million here from a signing bonus or a contract dispute when he retired out of nowhere that season. And there hasn't been much communication between the two. So now is the time, I've seen people say, is to make it right with Calvin and bring him in here, because those are the kind of moves, bringing in Spielman, Barry, and then let's say they bring in Calvin. Those are the kind of moves that they fly under the radar, because as you've noticed, each and every year there's a trade deadline. Each and every year there are a cornucopia, let's say, of free agents, and people will I have the Lions, or I can go to the Patriots. Where am I going to choose? And they'll go to another organization for less money, because they know that the Lions are, they don't have it together. So bringing in players like this, like ex-players like this, goes a long way to kind of entice free agents in real life to come to the organization here. So the implications of Spielman and Barry Sanders coming here are bigger than people recognize, to me, I think.
Yeah, of course, it's building the environment.
That's it.
So
And they all, for the last few years, everybody, it must have been, Patricia was like a wolf in sheep's clothing. They thought he was building a good environment, kind of like the New England Patriots of the NFC North here. And it was all shit. It was all garbage. He was tearing people down. He was putting players and coaches staff down. And we thought the whole time, well, he's kind of getting in players from a very well-run organization where he came from in the first place. And again, come to find out, he was a complete jerk the entire time.
Who would you tap as the next coach of the Detroit Lions?
Well, I would love, I believe his name is Robert Salehi in San Francisco. He's the defensive coordinator there.
Right.
He's got local ties. He's born and raised, and he's done some things in Dearborn, which is literally 15 or 20 minutes down 75 or down the local freeway here in I-94 here from Detroit. And there's even, I don't know if you say, it was a big news story about a week ago. There's some Michigan legislators that were petitioning the Lions organization to hire Robert Salehi because he's very well respected. He's a high character guy, getting nothing but praise from anybody and anybody he's ever come in contact with here. So he would be a nice addition here. And I'd like to think that the offensive coordinator in Kansas City, Eric Bieniemy, I believe is how you say his last name, would be a very nice addition here. But you have two very contrasting skill sets in both coaches. One guy is a defensive stud, genius, you could say, and the other guy is the offensive coordinator for one of the most highly regarded, high-run offenses in Kansas City here. So you're going to have to sit down and really think about what direction of your organization you want to go to, and it will have major long-term implications, whichever guy you choose.
Let's make a deal. As Jet fans, we get Bieniemy, you get Salehi.
Deal. I'll make that deal all day.
Deal.
There you go. We'll shake
All
on.
right.
Shake on.
All right. Well, I only have one more question. Eric, do you have any questions before I get into that?
Well, you just threw me for a curveball because I don't know what your next question is. So just go for it.
All right. So my final question, just taking it completely away from football, going to you on a personal level. Who is your number one actor who's ever played James Bond?
It's Roger Moore to me, and I don't want to say it's not close because it really is, but I'm going to say Roger Moore for the simple fact that when I was a boy, the first ever experience with James Bond was a Roger Moore film. I stayed up late one night. I was like 8 or 9 years old, and I watched around Christmas time. Around this time, I saw For Your Eyes Only with James Bond. That was the first ever James Bond movie I ever watched, and I just went nuts. I fell in love with the entire franchise, and it's fantastic because it's one of those things where you ever come across a band, like let's say a kid that's in his mid-20s, here's a Led Zeppelin song, and they're, oh, I really like this band. I wonder if they've done anything else. And then you see that this whole other world opens up to you, and you can spend days, weeks, months looking into Led Zeppelin songs. It was the same way for me and James Bond. I'm like, oh, this movie is great. Is it just a one-off kind of action movie? And come to find out, it's books. There's 25 James Bond movies, that are out now. So it was a fantastic introduction to me to James Bond. And then once I went back to watch some of the older ones, I started at the beginning. Dr. No in the late 50s or early 60s, I believe it came out, 63 or something along those lines here. And Sean Connery is a fantastic James Bond. Roger Moore is a fantastic James Bond. Pierce Brosnan, Timothy Dalton, even Daniel Craig has been fantastic, but they're all good in their own way. So there's not really a wrong answer here. Personally, as you've asked me, I find it to be Roger Moore. He has that charm. He has that wit. He just makes a fantastic Bond.
I want to use my own special scale again. On scale from 1 to 7, how excited are you for Idris Elba? Did I pronounce that right? Idris Elba to take over.
I think it would be great, and he's picked up some steam about a year or two ago when it came out that Daniel Craig is going to do one more movie, and it's done. But because of COVID, they put the release back to around this time next year, something like that. And then, but a year or two ago, when it came out that Craig was not going to return, everybody pointed in Idris Elba's direction. And I think it would be fantastic. And then as early as yesterday, driving, I have Sirius satellite radio. I listen to Howard Stern literally 24/7. Even when I'm reading, when I'm writing, I have Howard Stern on old clips, new clips,
right
whatever.
Now?
George, yeah, right now I have Howard Stern in this year, and then you guys in this one. So not false at all. So George Clooney was on the show yesterday, called in on a Zoom call, and for some odd reason, Howard asked him that same question. So it must be picking up some steam again. And George Clooney himself, the A-lister, said, I think Idris Elba would be a fantastic James Bond. And, me and other James Bond fans have been on board with this for well over a year now. I think it would be fantastic. And again, he would bring something different to the character. You can't say one James Bond actor is better than the other. They're all fantastic in their own right. And I'd be excited to see what kind of spin Alba would bring to the James Bond franchise.
Awesome. That was a great answer.
All right. I think that's it for us here today. I want to thank you so much again for coming on.
Yeah, check everybody
this-
listening. Check him out on Twitter's the DetroitBeastie. Guy has amazing DFS content, amazing
I'll
fantasy
leave that right
content.
around here somewhere.
And as you now know, he loves James Bond.
100%, I do. So I just want to say thank you to both of you for having me on. I'm glad we were able to link up earlier in the day. Normally, any broadcasts I do personally or guest spots I do personally are always in the evening time. So it's nice to kind of, because it's just hit noon my time, Eastern time here in Detroit. So it's nice to kind of, wake up, have some coffee, get right into some football broadcasting. And then we got the rest of the day to ride this high here, guys. So thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. But you're welcome back anytime.
I'll take you up
Anytime,
on
brother.
that. I will definitely take you up on that.
Thanks, Chris, one more time for giving us a great interview. Lots of useful information. Lots of useful information we just got from him. I took down notes. I don't know about you. I'm trying to win this week. I'm trying to make some money on DFS, and our guy Chris just helped us out a lot there.
Definitely the guy on DFS. Follow him on Twitter at DetroitBeastie. He posts just about every Thursday game. Definitely on Sundays. You want to make sure you follow him on Sundays. So, Chris, we'd love to have you back. Thanks again.
Oh, we gonna have him back. He already told us he coming back. We holding him to it. All right, that's what we do.
Hell yeah.
All right. Let's talk a little basketball.
Shifting gears a bit. So the big news came out.
Definitely.
Giannis.
Oh, I thought you meant something else when you were talking about big news, because there was definitely some big news.
Well, it was a big boy, but first and foremost, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and that's proper.
Dude,
Two-time-
do you?
Two-time MVP has decided he's going to stay with Milwaukee. He signed the 5-year extension. I mean, he's getting paid. He's getting $228 million. Can opt out before the final season, but if he opts in that final season, he gets paid $52 million, which I think is more than the Tampa Bay Rays' entire team payroll. That's kind of nuts. So
Yeah.
that answers like a lot of questions about will Giannis sign? Where is he going? A lot of teams trying to put together some packages. I think that shapes the Eastern Conference for a while now.
Yeah, I think it's definitely makes Milwaukee, I would say, the force to be reckoned with in the East right now, except for maybe Miami, but it's 1-2 there.
Yeah, of course. And
Yeah, they set themselves up real big, and it's a lot of money, but it's definitely the right move, locking him in now, not even letting him touch free agent market. Sorry, all the Knicks fans who were saying Giannis is definitely coming here. You were
Yeah.
dumb. You were dumb from the beginning, and you should have
yeah.
known that.
yeah, no, we played that game with LeBron years back when he went to Miami.
Oh yeah. All
The
right.
Bucks also traded for Drew Holiday, who I think is an upgrade over Bledsoe simply because of the defense. I
Yeah.
think that's great for the Bucks. I put a poll on Twitter about whether or not he will bring a championship to Milwaukee in the next 5 years, and somehow with 71 votes, it is 36 votes for no, 35 votes for yes.
Wow. So people are pretty split on this one.
NBA Twitter, I don't know. NBA Twitter seems to think that there's a chance he's that good that he could bring a championship. Maybe not. Maybe there's some question marks.
Yeah, I think if they go the next 2-3 years without really challenging for a title, at least you're gonna hear trade requests from him.
Absolutely.
I think he wants to be a Buck, and I think he proved that, and he said it himself. But I think he also wants to win a championship.
Definitely. And I think that's the thing you're starting to see a lot now is even if guys do sign the big extensions, you have the Jimmy Butler in Minnesota where he said, I'm not playing, trade me. You know, guys can, like Anthony Davis with the Pelicans. He didn't want to be there. He said he wanted to be a Laker, so they found a way to make it happen. I think it's great for the league in terms of Giannis saying, I like Milwaukee. I want to stay in Milwaukee. It's great for a small market. It's great to see a little distribution of talent where it's not just the Lakers and the Celtics and the Warriors and the same teams winning all the time. But like you said, I do think there's a good chance that if we're looking 3-4 years from now and the Bucks haven't been, in the finals knocking on the door, maybe he leaves. Maybe he demands out.
I don't think it even takes 4 years. I think 2-3 at the very least, at the very most.
So speaking of another big star who is trying to force his way out, we got to talk James Harden.
I mean, we can definitely call it big.
definitely some big stuff happening. I mean, he looked like he.
Like, look, I'm not trying to body shame anyone. Like big and beautiful. Like, do you? But you're a professional athlete. Your athleticism is part of why you got paid all the money. Why you're this big star. Like, you gotta be coming in better shape than that, my guy.
And he's setting himself up for all the great jokes. I mean, we've already said he's all wings, no rings. We said he was going to the strip club only
With
for
Lou
the
Williams.
2-for-1, only for the 2-for-1 appetizers. The stories did come out though, saying from former teammates, former coaches, saying that in between games he would fly to Atlanta or Las Vegas to party, and that every year after the All-Star game he would miss the first couple practices because he just wanted to party. And the coaching staff, the Rockets brass, they all knew it and they were all okay with it.
I mean, but you've heard how they bend over backwards for this guy before, so that doesn't necessarily surprise me.
No, but somebody also made a great joke that Harden watched The Last Dance, the Michael Jordan documentary, and the big takeaway was that he wanted to be like Dennis Rodman.
Yeah. I mean,
who
wouldn't want to be like Dennis Rodman?
Dennis Rodman had a hell of a life. You ever get the chance to see that 30 for 30?
Oh, man. Yeah, he was a wild guy.
For Harden, though, if he's really trying to force his way to either, it seems like the Sixers or the Nets, these aren't things that boost your trade value, especially when, the Nets already have Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, guys with some big personalities. Do you really think Kevin Durant's going to say, hey, you know what, go hang out at the 40-40 club, go party in New York, we'll come see you next week?
But counterpoint to that, I think it makes Houston want to trade him more, have more incentive to get him out of there, even though they say they don't want to trade him. And also, I think it makes it easier to trade because if he's looking like that, he's gonna command less capital because he doesn't care what Houston gets back. He just wants to be out of Houston.
Right, and that sucks so much. If you're a Rockets fan, I'm so sorry because he's tanking his own trade value.
Yeah, and I think he's doing it on purpose.
Yeah, it seems like he's just fed up and he wants his way out. So I think that's a good question to ask the viewers to call in. Chris is going to give us a phone number and call in and tell us where you think James Harden will end up. Ask us any basketball questions because we're going to be coming with an NBA season preview episode coming up soon.
Yeah, so that number again is 914-236-4793. Hit them lines, getting them questions. It doesn't have to be basketball related, but we're coming at you with some basketball content soon. So get them basketball questions in there. Once again, 914-236-4793.
And you can always hit us up on the social medias.
Anywhere.
Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube comments. I don't know if Spotify's got messages, but if you got us on Spotify, find a way to talk to us. We love having callers, questions, all sorts of interactions. Last week we asked about the Cleveland baseball team.
We're going to let that one rock for another week, though, just because we have a lot of stuff going on in this episode already. We don't want to overload you guys. We'll let that rock for one more week.
And the Indians might be going by the Indians again. They kind of pulled it back on there.
I mean, they're saying after this season now. When originally it was supposed to be midway through, so who knows? But
they're saying it's racist enough that it needs to be changed, but not racist enough to change right now. Weird.
Yeah.
Also, I have a question for people who've already answered that, because we've gotten a bunch of answers to that. We'll play them all next time, but someone needs to explain to me why I've had at least a handful of people telling me that Cleveland Spiders. Not only are people saying like they suggest it, people seem to be very confident that it will be the Cleveland Spiders. So I need someone to explain that to me, because like spiders suck. I fucking hate spiders. I don't know why any team would ever want to go by spiders.
Yeah, I don't quite understand the reference there myself, but is what it is.
Yeah, Cleveland baseball team fans, please let us know.
Let us know. I think that's all we have really to touch on this week.
Yeah, we had a whole lot going on. Great show. Looking forward to a fun weekend of football.
Oh, yeah. Anyway, guys, Chris Gray, Eric Mincer, this right here is That Basement Boys Podcast. See ya.
To the next one, stay positive and test negative.
Welcome to the basement.